Hello everyone, and welcome to Expletives Included for the 23rd day of Vlogmas, which is my final vlog video of the season, at least. And we are going to be talking politics again, and I'm also going to be making soup. Yay! Kira has kind of like told me that I should try to ignore labels and such, so kind of don't say anything about feminism or men's rights or anything like that, or kind of take any specific examples like the Reggie Yates documentary, where I feel like it's bias. It's political bias. It's intellectually dishonest and all of that jazz. So ignore all that. What do I believe? At the moment, I believe that my mental state is probably in a worse place than it has been in quite a long time. I think my diet's probably been a bit rubbish at the moment, so I'm just cooking vegetables and shit. That's what I believe. I feel like I kind of am healthier, sounder of mind than like when I just got home. Although when I did, it did just kind of take everything just to kind of not just go to bed. Grab a duvet and then just go to sleep just as soon as I got in. But that probably wouldn't have helped much because then I wouldn't have eaten anything, and it's an evening wasted. Even though for like the past, it's probably about 8 now. I got home at about 6:20. Past like hour and 40 minutes. I've done absolutely nothing of note. I decided I would come home and I would get straight to cooking so that I could eat this and, not leave it to a ridiculous time, which it will be now. If I do eat this, then it will be a ridiculous time because it's going to take a while to do. But cooking is also quite therapeutic. This is a vlog in of itself. So, what do I believe? Keir gave me prompts. He did say that I should wait until he's like recorded his, and then I can just use that as a base, go off that. So, one of Keir's prompts: what is the role of government? What is the role of government? So I like having a monarchy, and I also quite like having like the House of Lords. Recently, the Conservative government tried to pass a thing through the House of Lords that I didn't really agree with, and the House of Lords stopped it. And I was like, yes, good, that shouldn't have gone through. And they didn't really like even stop it. They postponed it. They said like this isn't going to go through until you like have a plan in place to like help these people who you're going to basically dick over. And I was just like, wait, so they didn't have a plan for that? And because House of Lords, it's lots of people don't like it because no one votes for the House of Lords because it's made up of earls and lords and whatever. It's nobility of the present day, I guess. But I think that's good, because I think that politics as it stands in the UK and definitely in America, at least like the representation is kind of like sent our way. It seems like definitely it's a popularity contest. I mean, it's people kind of will not kind of. It feels like in politics people won't kind of do like a thing where they say it's like, right, this is what I believe. I think this is right, and kind of stick by it. They'll kind of like do like what they think is public opinion. So, I'm not going to give any examples, but you probably understand that, right? That that it does seem like a lot of it is public. It's popularity. It's politics. It's a game, and I don't think that's right. Whereas with the House of Lords, that's not kind of what they do, because they're not trying to win anyone over. They're there because they're either kind of retired MPs who know the system, they know the country, they know what they're doing, and they're not trying to win votes. They're not doing personality politics. They're not attacking people. So it's like, yeah, I think it's good that there's like this buffer of like people who kind of do what politicians should do. They have like they have their own interests to think of, but also they've got like the interest of the country, and that's kind of like why they're there. They're not there to win votes. They're there to make sure that things don't go really badly. And the monarchy as well. No one in the monarchy is, well, they need to kind of like remain popular in the public eye, but I think that's just going to happen anyway, just because most people are in England. At least I think so. I think most people are kind of pro-monarchy, and for myself, I'm not sure. I'm pro the Queen. I like Queen Elizabeth. I like her. I think that I think she's a good monarch. Monarch. So that's part of my political view. I am pro the Queen, but I'm not necessarily pro monarchy, because again, it's like, as I said, the House of Lords. It's made up of ex-MPs. It's made up of ruling class, whatever. But like generally, it's people who have like experience in like running things, whereas monarchy, it is just like you're born into it. I don't know, that's kind of House of Lords as well, but the reason why I like Queen Elizabeth is like she has like always said, you know, I'm a servant of the public, and I believe it when she says that. So yeah, so I'm pro the Queen. I'm probably pro House of Lords. I guess I'm pro nobility. That's an awful thing to say, that, because I'm pro birthright. That just sounds wrong, but it feels like the way that it's working at the moment. I do kind of approve it. Like I do approve that. Well, yeah, I'm pro the Queen, and I think because a lot of it is just ceremonial. House of Lords never really do anything, but with like this one thing that they did kind of start going through. I remember because the Tories were like, they're abusing their power. That's what they said when they like actually did something, and it's like, well, no, not really, because they never use this power. They've used it like once in God knows how long. And that's what the House of Lords does. They have that power. The laws always kind of go through the House of Lords. And this is like the first time in forever that they've actually used it, and Tories are butthurt about it. And if, you know, they need to kind of try and change it if they don't like it. So that's kind of, I guess, my views on just like politics in the UK. I don't think there's like any party that kind of properly represents what I believe, apart from maybe the Monster Raving Loony Party, which is always good fun. But their leader used to be a cat, and I think the cat died, and I think it's just all gone downhill from there. It really was like a cult of personality. Yeah, without the cat, they're not as good as they used to be. On to the next point that Keir has set aside for me. I'll go back to the first point that Keir provided for me. What do I think the role of government is? I guess just like the same as what the Queen's role is. They should be like a servant of the people. So they should protect like their constituents, their charges. So they need to protect like the lowest echelons of society. So I guess people like me who live in like a council house and just live on a minimum wage job and basically I don't know, I guess I don't have a lot going for me. That's my personal outlook at the moment. And then there are like people who are worse off than me still, like people who have kids who they can't afford, who are in a worse situation because they don't have like a full-time job, as low paying as it is, and I guess again people who are even worse off than that, people who are homeless, people who were abused at home and all that junk, and it's to protect the little guy and to keep, I guess, keep the big guy in check. Make sure that, because it's the big guy up top who's going to be exploiting this little guy. So, like the fact that, I'm not sure if it's like a problem with America or, but all of these problems where there are these big businesses who are just like, just not paying tax on like massive amounts of tax money that they're just not paying. Like the government doesn't seem to be trying to do anything about it. That's what they should be doing. Ooh, I can smell the ginger. Yeah, I think that's like what the role of government should be. It should be to protect like the most vulnerable members of society. That's what I think its role should be. Because I think like keeping the least vulnerable, like so like the big businesses, by keeping those people in check, then you are kind of in turn protecting the little guy, protecting people's rights. Yeah, I guess that's what I think. And then Keir also said, I think it was like personal liberty, personal freedoms. I remember I think it was like The Amazing Atheist. So I think like, I guess the topic of rape is probably a good place to start. So, because I think like he was being called out for making rape jokes or something, and I guess like, and what he said was, you know, where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line with rape jokes? And I think like his response was something like, there's a big difference between making a rape joke and actually raping someone, and that's the line. So you can joke about it all you want, talk about it all you want. Well, I guess not talk about it all you want, but yeah, just like joke about it. Just kind of, you can joke about it, but the moment it actually kind of goes from just being talked about to actually being enacted, that's where you draw the line. That's where the problem starts. That's where things, that's where you need to stop. So I guess like a lot of what's online now is that, oh no, you can't say that, or like that's like that kind of stuff. I think personal liberty, you can, because I want to say it's like, as long as you're not harming anyone, where is the problem? And I know like the problem kind of comes up where you can like say, it's like, yeah, I'm going to make a rape joke. I'm going to say like, 9 out of 10 people enjoy gang rape. That's not hurting anyone. I'm not actively doing anything to inflict like harm onto someone else, but I suppose like the alternative, the response to that would be, well, you are, because that can be like someone who has been through like that traumatic experience, to hear you like joking to make light of this subject is kind of very damaging for their mental state. It's not unhealthy. It's dramatic. It makes them kind of relive that experience. But I don't know, I think that still, you have the right to kind of say and do whatever you want, as long as it's not, it's like, I don't want to like say it's freedom of speech, but it is. It's like you have, as long as you're not inciting violence, then, or kind of, like our free speech laws as they are, it's like you can say whatever you want about anything, but the moment it kind of goes from just kind of talking shit to actually trying to incite something, to incite violence, that's where you draw the line. So, kind of, yeah, joke about rape, but the moment you try to use like a platform to convince someone that, you know, it's not a bad thing or something like that, then that's kind of like another place where you draw the line. Even though you're not actually doing it yourself, you're trying to get someone else to do that, and that's kind of like another. So, because it's kind of difficult to explain, because you want to like say it's like, as long as you're not hurting anyone, then, you know, what's the problem? But like, everyone's lived experiences are different, so you could like say that, you know, I'm doing this, but I'm not hurting anyone. Whereas kind of someone could just kind of turn around and say, well, no, by doing that you are. And so you could like say, well, I'm not physically hurting anyone. So what's the problem? And it's a difficult subject. And it's not black and white, because everyone's lived experiences are different. Like, humour is like a very useful tool. It's a very useful coping mechanism. So, like, I have kind of like thought about suicide. Not in like the kind of way that I've ever kind of worried that it's something that I might actually do, but it's something which, you know, has kind of gone through my mind. Just like, you know, do I want to kind of go on living? I don't feel like that this life kind of has anything going for it at the moment, and that's kind of like, to just like say that, it's kind of like very harrowing to just kind of admit. It's an awful thing to admit, but, you know, kind of making jokes about it, making light of the subject, I think is kind of it's a way of coping. So I could say that, you know, I think that this is like a kind of a very awful thing, and suicide is like it's a very serious thing, and by making a joke about it, I'm not trying to offend anyone. I'm not trying to like trigger any response from people who have kind of been through that. It's like a coping mechanism for myself, and it's like one of the ways that I deal with that. So I'm kind of like saying that I'm helping myself deal with this. It's not my fault if then someone kind of sees it and has a negative response to it. I don't know. Like I said, it's difficult, because it's like everyone has the right to offend, and everyone has the right to get offended. There's no winning in the argument, I guess. Actually, no, yeah, let's go with that. Everyone has the right to offend, and everyone has the right to be offended. But you can't kind of then say that one supersedes the other. You can't say that, well, I'm going to do this because it's offensive, because that's just a massive dick move. But you can't say, you know, you can't do that because that is offensive, because, as I kind of like said, something which could be offensive, seen as offensive by one person, could be like the only coping mechanism that another person has, and it's like you're going to say that one person is more important than another, and I think that's wrong as well. Like saying that one person is more important, one person's lived experience is more important than someone else's, that it's kind of more important, more worth protecting, anything like that. It's basically saying that certain people are more important than other people, and to say that to limit someone else's freedom for the freedom of someone else is kind of like saying that that person is more important as a person. You should be free to kind of do whatever, as long as you're not actively going out to hurt someone, I suppose. And I was going to say, go on to something else that was kind of like along these lines. Lived experiences, yeah. It's something which I kind of think about. It's like, because you kind of like see it often, it's like, you can't really compare the lived experiences of two people. So, I've kind of done all the prep I can, and anything else is just going to kind of make frying and distracting noises. I have, I've gone through some shit that just, makes me feel like I'm absolutely awful, and then you kind of like have, it's like a thing that I thought about, it's like, yeah, but at least, I have it better than X, Y, or Z demographic, and it's kind of difficult because your lived experiences are kind of very different. So what's kind of traumatic for one person isn't kind of traumatic for another, so you can't kind of like say that this person has had it worse, because depending on like the trauma that you go through in life, you have different kind of safeguards, you have different ways of coping, you have like different, different people cope with different things in different ways, so and it's just like it's about how well you can cope with like certain situations. So you can't compare lived experiences because no two people's lived experiences are exactly the same. And I feel like a lot of that kind of goes on. Like it's much harder to be kind of this demographic than this demographic kind of thing. So in today's society, it's much harder to be a woman than it is to be a man. To kind of go into that, but I don't think it is, because again, you're comparing lived experiences of two different people who live two exceptionally different lives, and there's kind of no one who's kind of properly experienced it from both sides, because you could say like, well, trans people kind of have experienced life both as a man and as a woman, but say it's like male to female trans, then they haven't grown up in this world as a girl, which again I think is, I don't know, I feel uncomfortable saying that, because it's like it's through no fault of their own, and it's probably difficult for them to kind of reconcile that as well, and even if they believe that they have, then their experience has been different, and because to like say that, well, they have kind of experienced it kind of from both sides, they haven't. They've had their own entirely unique experience. So you can't like say that X has it worse than Y and then Z has it even worse. Because you can't compare lived experiences. And there was like another thing that I was going to talk about. You can't judge someone because of what they are. You can't judge someone, well, you can't judge someone or like say someone will be something because of what they are. Like you can't, again, I don't want to kind of go into whole feminism stuff, but like the hashtag yes all men, it's like yes all men are misogynists, and I've seen it kind of bandied around a lot, that yes all men are misogynists because they've grown up in this misogynist society. The society at its very core is misogynist, so of course anyone who grows up in it will be misogynist. No, because you're making you're kind of forming a conclusion about someone because of a physical trait, and that is completely erroneous in my mind. You can't, but then at the same point, like you can't live without prejudice. Everyone has prejudice, And like one of my again, like going on to someone else's kind of explanation of this, I guess, in a roundabout way. Dylan Moran, I think it was in his stand-up Monster, he was basically talking about prejudice, and he was like, I can't remember the sketch exactly, but he's just talking about, he sees like this this bald guy, this slaphead with like tattoos, Millwall t-shirt. It's just, oh god, he's this guy. He's going to start a fight. What am I going to do? And then it's like there's this this black guy, just like a stern face, kind of walks out the other direction. Oh god, they're going to get into a fight. It's like it's all awful. And I think there was like a woman there as well. And it's just it's just all going to kick off. It's like I don't want to be here. And then it turns out they were fine. They were all friends. And then they kind of all go off together. And then as they're walking by, he hears one of them say, it's like, "Whew, I'm glad you came when you did. I'm worried that drunk's going to kick off," referring to him. If you can find the sketch, then do, because he kind of puts it in a way that's much better than I can at the moment. And it's just everyone has prejudices, and I kind of believed, I've believed that for a long time. Everyone has prejudices, and that's not inherently a bad thing. When a prejudice becomes bad is when you have a failure to let go. If you have a prejudice, if you make a judgment about someone before you know them, as long as you're willing to let that go, then that's fine. So you can make, and as long as you don't kind of like label like an entire demographic as kind of this, as long as you can kind of, you know that kind of everyone you meet is going to be an individual, and you can have like your ideas of how you expect them to be, but as long as you can like reconcile in your mind that everyone is an individual and everyone will be kind of different, then that's fine. So I can meet a feminist and I think, oh god, are they gonna be like talking about intersectionality? They're gonna kind of be kill all men, male tears, and I can be like, oh shit, I don't want to talk about this. I can't deal with this. And then it turns out that they're a lovely person. I've actually kind of like said that I know that. Well, I think basically I was just talking about Lacey Green, where it's like, oh, I don't want to listen to like her stuff. I just like talking about her views and stuff. But I know that if I actually met her, then I'm sure that she would just be like a lovely, lovely person. And it's strange. So that's kind of like a thing that I think it look to me. It seems like it's thrown around a lot. That say. Like in America at the moment, it's like all white people are racist, all black people are oppressed, all men are misogynist, all men are sexist, and it's just like you can't throw around labels like that, and that's kind of like one of the big things that I'm opposed to. So it's like you've made like a concrete decision about something or someone that you're unwilling to change your mind, and I think it's kind of categorically wrong to kind of say this, this and this, and that's like gamers are all dead, gamers are all misogynists, these trolls on the internet are all men. This hate all comes from men. Gamergate is entirely filled with misogynists. I don't know, because like I suppose like a few of those are not as bad because you're kind of saying something about a group because of what you kind of believe their beliefs to be. Whereas where I kind of find the real objectionable ideas is where you kind of base them on because of physical traits. So like saying all men are sexist. So it's like you can't. It goes like back to lived experiences. I think you can't kind of just say that because you've got this physical trait, then you are this. I'm feeling weak now. I've talked for too long. Far too long. I'm gonna... I hope that's been decent. It's been like 40 minutes, which I think should be okay for a final kind of vlogging out video, but... and Keir, I hope that you... I hope that you can make sense of this. I hope that it's not too awful or whatever. I hope that, you know, you kind of understand like where I'm coming from when I like say these things more now, I guess. So Vlogmas is over. We're probably not going to vlog for a long time now because I feel burnt out. I feel burnt out with life, not just vlogging, but who knows. Hopefully we are just going to kind of ignore this. We're just going to kind of do creative things and just talk about passions and lovely things and nice things. But when we do kind of talk about this stuff again, then hopefully you kind of know where I'm coming from. Until then,